Hello and welcome to the British Sitcom History Podcast. I'm Gareth and with me as always is Alan.
Hello!
And this week we have yet more Grace Brothers content. Yet more Are You Being Served? So we've already done our main episode and covered off the series itself. We've already covered off the 1977 film. How can we possibly squeeze more juice out of this lemon, Alan? What are we doing today?
There's so much. I've got even more. I've got more stuff after this. I've got other things planned.
No, please, mercy.
Today what we really want to talk about is Grace Favour, which is also known as Are You Being Served? Again!
So this was the later incarnation after they left retail.
Yes. So it was just a kind of like, let's get the old gang back together kind of thing in the 90s.
And what's the sort of premise for it?
Our Grace Brothers regulars have to run a country hotel.
Yeah.
It's basically
it.
We'll come into more details of that. But before we get into that, I do want to talk about that in detail. But I would like to just wrap up a few loose ends about Are You Being Served? Because there were some remakes that were done. And I'd love to just talk about them in relatively briefly speaking. So there was an American pilot attempted remake, as we see so often with British sitcoms. Yeah. And then there was an Australian remake as well, which ran for 2 series. So I want to talk about those a little bit.
And then there was a British remake, right? In the not that long ago?
Oh, when the BBC were doing their sitcom season, they did a full reboot in 2016. Just one episode, but they're obviously angling for a series. But I want to talk about that a lot in real detail. Right. Let's do that another time.
So that's the extra bonus double content. Let's do that another time. So we're not going to do that today. We're not going to talk about it. We
won't have time to do all of it. I want to concentrate on Grace Favour. And But no,
all right, so we're going to talk about the American, the Australian, and then we're going to do Grace Favour.
Yeah, it's kind of chronological. The American version was done in 1979. Now, I have
seen this. So when we get to the Australian one, I haven't seen that. So you're going to have to do all the talking. Okay. But I have seen this. It's called Beanes of Boston. And that's the name of the department store. It's instead of Grace Brothers, it's basically Beanes of Boston.
Yes. And I think you can find this on YouTube. There's a very kind of grainy, crap VHS transfer.
It's on YouTube, but it's a really poor visual copy. But it's all watchable, you know. Yeah, it's not particularly enjoyable, but that's not just because of the film quality.
Yeah, it's good enough to get the vibe of what it was trying to do. And, this is in the 70s. We saw a lot of British sitcoms getting remade into American. And in fact, they'd had a bit of success with the likes of Steptoe and Son becoming Sanford and Son and other things like that. We've talked about some of those in the past, so let's not get into those details. But there was precedent here. So everyone was probably a little bit kind of like, okay, this is a good, solid product. It was playing well in America. It was on is it PBS, but on the public service that they have over there.
Yeah, that's right.
Are You Being Served was very popular and continues to be so in America as this very British thing. But I think it is seen as cutesy British quaintness, camp and ridiculousness. So not necessarily the best thing to try and translate to an American audience, to an American cast. But they kind of had everything in place. David Croft and Jeremy Lloyd, the writers of Are You Being Served, they went over to America to kind of shepherd this thing in. The producer who was involved was Gary Marshall, who was, a huge name in American television and film. And he was fresh off of Happy Days. That was his big hit at the time. So in good hands, although I was reading about this in David Croft's autobiography, and it was like Gary Marshall was there, and then just for the week of rehearsals, he went on holiday. So he just suddenly wasn't there anymore. And they had a director coming in and doing it all. And just judging from David Croft's kind of recollection of it, it seems like pretty typical of how British people experience the American system. Like they go over there and it's just like, well, everyone's just rewriting everything, but they're not making it better. They're just adding things and changing things. But at some point we just go, what's best, as opposed to what's new. And so just getting new lines every day, trying to convert it to a new cast. And it is, the script they use is It's German Week, the episode German Week of the.
Yes.
But obviously, it's not just that, because they have to actually introduce all the characters, and they have to chop several minutes out of it for adverts.
Yeah.
So you don't have the same.
It all feels very rushed, I think.
Yeah.
That was one of my takeaways. But also, I think, I'm not one of these people who thinks British is best and America always ruins it because they have no sense of humour. I think there is something to be said for adaptation. It's a different market. It's a different audience. You can just play the British original. They've done that, and it has a cult audience. But if we're going to make this for a mass American market, we have to do something different with it. Fine. But the comparison that I would make here, because it's been a while since I mentioned Steptoe and Son, but when we talked about Sanford and Son, it felt like, they'd taken exactly the same script as the episode of Steptoe, but it just lost all its charm. It lost its timing. And I think part of the reason for that, and that's where I can relate it to Are You Being Served, is that a big strength of both of those shows is the beloved characters. And you're taking those beloved characters out. You're changing them. You're fundamentally altering them. And so it loses that part of its charm. And I think that's me as a British person watching it. I see something missing, and it is just that ephemeral charm. But if I was an American and I hadn't seen the other one, it's still charmless.
Yeah. We talk a lot about, particularly with David Croft stuff, the importance of casting. And, you see John Inman, you see Molly Sugden, even Wendy Richard. They're sort of playing a version of themselves. And it might be slightly heightened in some ways or another. Or you've got someone like, even Molly Sugden, who is like, this is the character she plays. The harridan kind of older woman. Yeah. She's been doing it for 20 years. She knows they're old troopers who know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And you're playing to their strengths. And then eventually you start writing to them as well, So when John Inman becomes so popular, you just start putting more and more in for him, right? So transferring that to other actors, even if you're going, okay, look, we don't have to be totally true to the character, we can kind of make it their own. But I also feel like the American system doesn't work the same way. Even David Croft said that he did the casting, but he didn't know anybody. He said, I felt totally blind. I'm just seeing people in a room. What's that? Everyone else he knows. His wife worked with Arthur Bruff in Rep for 20 years. It's like he knows these people.
Small community. You know what, you're making me think of the American remake of Ghosts, which, all the ghosts are absolutely beautiful American actors.
Yeah.
And it's not, I don't hate Ghosts US. It's all right, but it is just a level below on that charm scale.
Yeah. So, that is part of it.
I'll tell you a good example of that, the casting there. Do you remember when we were talking about the film, we were joking about Pink Face, and there was a character, a hairdresser, who was incredibly camp.
Yeah.
And that really clanged in a way that Mr. Humphries doesn't, because it felt like Mr. Humphries is just an exaggeration of John Inman. It maybe not even that much of an exaggeration. Now, I don't know the actor who played Mr. Humphries in the American version, but it felt like, we've used the word pink face. It felt offensive in a way that John Inman does not.
Well, that's Alan Sues, who plays the Humphreys-type character.
Yes. I've never ridden on a motorcycle before. It's wild, isn't it? I just held on tight and screamed my head off.
I mean, my note here is, Mr. Humphries, how can he be even gayer? That's what I've written.
Well, I do believe that Alan Sues was a kind of over-the-top, ridiculous kind of guy like that. He was... I don't know much about his personal life and all that, but...
As I say, I accept I know nothing about him, and I might be off base there. But that's my impression.
Well, I think that's a good go-to place to start, because Mr. Humphries is such a major part of Are You Being Served?
The breakout character.
Yeah, and John Inman is so kind of identified with that. So Alan Sues comes in. Now, Alan Sues was a sketch comedian of many, many years' experience. And he had worked with Jeremy Lloyd on Rowan and Martin's Laughing. So they knew each other from Jeremy Lloyd's acting days. And apparently, here's the anecdotes from from David Croft, is that one of the people they auditioned for the role was Robin Williams obviously pre-Mork and Mindy fame.
I'm just trying to think, when was this made? What year was it?
1979.
Right. So yeah, Mork and Mindy was just after that, wasn't it?
Yeah, but he said he didn't go with Robin Williams because he was too chaotic. He was just like, this guy's uncontrollable, and like I get that. But then that's
a couple of euphemisms for cocaine, mate.
But then they found they had the same problem with Alan Sues. Like he was just going like he was just chaos.
Yeah, too big.
And I will say with like he delivers the punchline, which is like an innuendo or whatever, and he looks directly at the audience and kind of mugs to the audience. It's so kind of over but he's a sketch comedian, he's a music hall type guy, you know, like maybe not in quite the same American tradition, but and it just that comes across a lot. And yeah, it doesn't quite work, but he brings a lot of energy and a lot of fun to it. And I think that goes a long way. Maybe if you made a series and you could kind of settle things in a little bit and find what's working, there's something there, you know?
Should we go through the other characters and just like draw comparisons?
Sure.
What about Mrs. Slocum? I guess she's the next biggest character.
Yeah, this just felt like someone trying to play Mrs. Slocum, you know? There was just kind of a little bit nothingy, kind of doing the lines, but like there wasn't a lot of good character behind it. Ugh. That was my response.
No, that's fair. I haven't got any notes. I've written on my notes, right? I've got a little bit of I've got the name and then a couple of notes, and all I've written for her is Mrs. Slocum ... As I've not gone back to it during the whole episode. So
I think that's probably
make of that what you will. It's not great podcasting, but it says something.
Especially for a character that has such an impact in the original. Yeah. We have a Miss Brahm. Like we're using the wrong names here because they all have different character names, or some of them do, or some of them don't.
Oh yeah, I've just written down their names.
Yeah,
whatever.
So they have a Miss Brahms type character who is a little bit different. First of all, they make her the newcomer to the department, so that she's kind of the new person, and she's young, so that kind of all makes sense. But certainly the voice she's using is playing much more into the kind of like total idiot, ditzy, like doesn't know anything.
Yeah. But Mr. Beane, you haven't given it a chance. What can you tell from one day?
No, it's no use. Everything I do is a disaster. I might as well give up.
Oh, that's no way to think. What about Thomas Edison? Did he give up?
No.
And Alexander Graham Bell, did he give up?
No.
And look at Harry Needleman.
I never heard of Harry Needleman.
Sure, he gave up.
Oh.
And then they start to tie her character in with what is essentially the Rumbold equivalent, but they have changed his character distinctly. Now, if you remember when we talked about Are You Being Served, I thought Rumbold was a bit ancillary to actually telling the story.
A layer of authority we didn't really need.
And I think perhaps in America that doesn't play in the same way, that kind of just arbitrary middle management. So instead of having Mr. Rumbold as he is, we have a younger man who is the nephew of young Mr. Beane. So that's why he's got power above his ability.
He's incompetent. He's explicitly incompetent.
Yes. But he's a younger man, and so they're obviously right from the beginning, him and Miss Brahms having a little bit of a just getting to know you kind of vibe, which you could, in series, play for a lot. I think that makes sense, having those character things go on, Miss Brahms connected to that. Changing that Rumbold-type character gives you another element, another dimension. I'm all right with all that, and I think it basically works.
It's interesting that one of the things that we talked about as a real theme of Are You Being Served is hierarchy. And there's a lot of the British class system in that. There's a lot of the post-war thing in that. And that probably doesn't play in America. So they have to structure that hierarchy in a different way.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it works.
The resentment comes from him having this unearned position as a nephew rather than him just being a better class.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And then we have Mr. Lucas's character is a little bit forgotten and just kind of there.
But he rides a motorbike and he has sideburns. So he's the 1979 US equivalent of Trevor Bannister in 1968.
Yeah. And again, I think this is a problem of having a shorter runtime and a lot of characters. Perhaps some are not going to get as very fleshed out in the pilot, and you can do that later. We do have a very direct kind of Captain Peacock equivalent.
Yeah, he's Mr. Peacock. They kept the name but dropped the captain for reasons I just said. I think the military aspect doesn't play quite so well.
But it's very similar to Captain Peacock's character. It's basically the exact same vibe, and I think it works on the same way. The only actor that I recognised, I'm sure you recognise him, John Hillerman. But this is more your
Is he
era.
the old guy off of Magnum?
Yes. Yes.
Wow. Okay, so let me tell you what. Let me tell you my notes here. Mr. Peacock, he's coded British, but actually isn't. He reminds me of the old bloke off of Magnum. I didn't look it up. Well, there we go. I was right. I just thought he was a similar type.
But you're right about that. He is playing the character that in America would be a British character, right?
Yeah.
like
I say, coded British, even if he isn't. Which is exactly what he was in Magnum.
We do also have Mr. Granger type, an older man, who again doesn't get a lot to do in this short
I've got one note for Mr. Granger. He looks like Jimmy Carter.
He's an old man. He looks more like young Mr. Grace, as we know him, than anything.
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Here's an interesting thing that I noticed, and this annoyed me. I'm going to say that up front. So there's a line where they're talking about how sales haven't been going very well, and Mr. Humphries says, "Oh yeah, my socks have been down all week."
Yeah.
And then the Mr. Granger character says, "And very little has been happening in my trousers." That good line. But, and I timed it, a 9-second applause break.
Wow.
While the cast just stand there looking gormless as the studio audience
amazed
that
they're getting a laugh for such a weak single entendre.
And the problem with that is it's immediately followed up by the Mrs. Slocum character saying, "Oh, my knickers have been down all week," or, whatever the line was.
Now, as you all may have noticed, sales have been a little off lately.
Well, I know that my socks are moving slowly.
And very little has been happening in my trousers. Well, Lord knows, my underwear's been down for weeks.
Which after that, it's like, well, it's the same. You've done the same joke twice, so it doesn't get as big a laugh. It's like, okay. But you know how we've talked about this a lot, and I love it. I love that live studio audience where their cast are riding the audience and riding the laugh. But this just annoyed me because, first of all, it didn't justify that laugh. But it's a real laugh. The audience are obviously on their side, right? They're going for it.
They're hyped. The good warm-up man's got them there.
And then the cast have just stood there looking gormless, like they don't know what to do next. And also, it's just like you need to cut that down in the edit. Yes, yes, it should. Yes. And like that's a delicate balance, isn't it? But yeah, that needed to be edited down. It was just way too long. It annoyed me.
I've got a couple of other notes on this. Number one, Mr. Nash, Arthur English, his character is black because, as we've discussed again in Sanford and Son, the British class system, the analogue in America is race. So he's the working class guy. He's black. That's how it works.
Yeah. Yeah, but he gets a little moment. They're just setting that character up for later, I guess. We have the young Mr. Grace type character. Who is
I've written here, the young Mr.
Beane,
Grace, his overacting is even worse.
He's pretty poor, and he's obviously not an old man. He's got a sort of a poor wig on, and he's playing older.
Do you know what it reminded me of? Here's a reference. It reminded me of Potter in It's a Wonderful Life. Just chewing the scenery and being a bad guy.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, that's good. And I think, unfortunately, what they fall into here is that he's a lot more like old Mr. Grace, played by Kenneth Waller, who at this point in the series I don't think was even there yet. So this is even in the British series hadn't been created yet. Yeah. But I think it falls into that category of there's a very, very delicate balance with young Mr. Grace of his sexual assault of the junior women.
He has to be that doddery, otherwise it's just predatory.
Yeah, and I think this guy kind of falls a bit into that category. But then the plot is German week. Right, we're going to sell German stuff that nobody wants for a week and see if that improves sales.
Do you know what? I've got one other note which really annoyed me. There's a scene where the Mrs. Slocum character says, "Oh, Mr. Peacock, are you free?" And he does that thing where he looks to his left, he looks to his right, and then he says, "At the moment, yes." What? You're not gonna do the line? She said, "Are you free?" Do the line. Do the bloody line.
That's Mr. Humphrey's line. You can't steal it. And then, of course, basically, this all leads up to them doing a song and dance number in Lederhosen in order to attract attention and shoppers.
Very poor.
Yeah, But
I thought German Week was the British one was very poor. Like
Yeah,
that
exactly.
second half where they're just all dressed up. And
the song and dance numbers are always quite poor.
I hated that. I hated that about Are You Being Served. I hated the musical act.
So overall, I mean, it gets a good response from the audience. I think it's not the worst thing I've seen. It does largely, I don't know, there's lots of bits that don't work and really don't work. And I think the bits that do are the ones that are the most close to the British version. So perhaps that's just my bias, or perhaps that's just because that's the stuff that is working well.
I think we are biased in two ways. Number one, we've seen Are You Being Served? So that's the standard. And number two, we are British, so it plays to our mores and our reference points, and this didn't.
Yeah.
But if you were watching this in Boston, not near Skegness, in Boston, Massachusetts, then you might not feel that.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think it was just missing a layer of charm. I thought it was more sexist, if that's possible. Sexism was turned up a little bit, which, 1979 in it, but we look back at these things and I don't think it has aged as well. And I'm not recommending it. I mean, it was an interesting cultural artifact, but I won't be watching it again.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it didn't go to series. I don't know. I think it's similar to when we saw the Fawlty Towers kind of remakes. It's just something's not right. It's not hitting. Whereas, I guess you could say the same about the Office remake. It didn't really work in that first series when they're trying to just do it line for line. And then they kind of developed their own characters and figured it out themselves. Maybe it needed something more like that. Maybe it needed a little bit more of a distance from the original. However, having said that, let's have a quick look at the Australian remake, which is a bang-on scene-for-scene remake.
Oh, is it? But even more so, John Inman was in it, right?
Yeah, so again, this was a year later, 1980 and 1981 it ran. They did 2 series. And they just take the scripts and redo them with new actors. Now, again, they've had to cut stuff out for adverts. But Are You Being Served has a bit of chaff sometimes. You take out that silly physical gag of them rehearsing the song and dance number, or the brassiere blowing up, or whatever it is. I think there is scope to reduce those scripts down a little bit and not lose too much of our character stuff. But yeah, the interesting thing really is John Inman, who was sent down there to reprise Mr. Humphries. So the concept is...
Well, hang on a sec. There was an implication that you said sent down there. Now, I am genuinely curious as to how this works. So, who's instigating this? Is it Australians? Is it the British trying to sell it to Australia? Do you throw John Inman in as part of the deal? How do you get him on board? How does this happen?
My understanding is that similar to America, Are You Being Served played well in Australia. And particularly then, British culture went to Australia, right? That was just how it went. So it worked, and they, for whatever reason, instead of just playing it, thought, we'll make our own. And it is just rename the characters, but they're the same. Get an actor to play Mrs. Slocum. Get an actor to play Captain Peacock. So it's an interesting thing for that. It does feel a bit like, what's the point? Why not just...
Yeah, so are the other actors just doing as close impressions as they can?
Yes, but I will say they do a really good job. It doesn't feel like necessarily doing an impression, but it's close enough that we understand the character, and they're just bringing a little bit of their own thing into it. From what I've seen, it's kind of like, yeah, that works. It's all right.
But if the scripts are the same, then what is the point?
Yeah. And then the concept is, the first episode is like Mr. Humphries turns up. British Mr. Humphries, played by John Inman. And he's like, oh, I've been sent over from Grace Brothers to help here. What can I do? And then all the other characters are suspiciously familiar to people he's worked with before. And then he relives the same things. So, I don't know. Yeah. Obviously, it was just to help sell the products.
Oh,
put
sure.
John Inman.
I'm sure he was very popular. Australia. I think back then Australia carried a lot of British television programs.
Oh, we've talked about how after Steptoe and Son finished, they went down there and did a tour. Yeah. The two Ronnies went and lived in Australia for a year because they could earn loads of money and it was all tax free. At a time when the taxes they were getting taxed through the nose. So They did all that. But yeah, all the characters are renamed. The company's called Bone Brothers. The theme tune is a song sung by John Inman.
Oh, God.
And in fact, I'll just drop it in right now.
Going up.
You'd like a suit? Well, suit yourself. Our three-piece is first class. I'll find one with tight trousers that fit well round the...
Kitchenware.
Oh, these'll do. I'll take them off the peg. Now hold your breath and brace yourself. Here comes the inside leg.
Whoops! Are you being so sad?
I'm Humphreys and I'm free.
Are you being so sad?
There's no one here but me.
So,
Oh my goodness, I've not heard that before. That is incredible. That is incredible. So had he recorded that as a single then? You know, the cash-in single.
there was a single, but I'm not sure what order it comes in. I'm actually genuinely not sure. My guess is, they did the song first and then they used it as a theme tune. I don't know.
I mean, it's terrible. I mean, for an all-round entertainer like John Inman, you would think he could sing. But he's basically just talking his lines, isn't he?
Anyway, so Australian remake, right? All previous scripts being used apart from one episode that was an original script. So this is the one I thought, I'll watch this one and make a few notes so I can kind of report back to you, because this is the original script, right?
Is it Australian? Is that why it's different? It's different. Is it about kangaroos and, you know, suppressing black people's votes or something like that?
Well, I think it works well because it is in keeping with the kind of vibe, but it's tying in with the Australian culture, yes.
Go on, tell me.
It's called Undesirable Alien.
Yeah.
And Mr. Humphreys, something's gone a bit awry, his paperwork's gone wrong, and so immigration have come to kick him out of the country, right? Because he hasn't got a visa.
The Australian points system.
Obviously, they want to keep him. So, first of all, they try and hide him when the bloke comes round looking for him, and he goes down to the maintenance room and he comes back pretending to work for maintenance in disguise. Great. We've got John Inman playing a silly comedy character. He's playing like an Australian ochre character, you know, like a proper working class. Like, I thought, I like where this is going. And then he walks across the room and the bloke goes, "You're Mr. Humphreys, aren't you? I can tell by the way you walk." Which is funny, but it kind of...
Well, they made that joke in the film.
Yeah.
I recognise that walk.
That nun is walking a bit funny. But so... That was I was like, I was expecting that to go for a long way, and then it's just kind of like simple, boom, okay, that's done. The next solution is that he has to marry an Australian woman so that he can stay in the country. So they arrange a rushed marriage to Mrs. Slocum, or the Mrs. Slocum equivalent, which is Mrs. Crawford, but they have to make it look good so they can get married straight away.
Oh, hilarity!
But then people are going to be looking at them, so they're going to have to live together for a few months. Which, you know, hilarity ensues. And like Mrs. Slocum, she, once this idea comes out, she starts to get really carried away with it. And she's, like, excited about being married. And, like I say, quite fitting with a Mrs. Slocum.
And do we see them at home?
No. We sort of see them
the
preparing for marriage, which is, of course, taking place in the store.
Of course.
Just a quickie wedding. But then, at the last minute, someone finds the paperwork they needed. It's like, oh, here it is. We found it. Last minute reprieve. He is
Everyone's
saved.
relieved except Mrs. Slocum.
Yeah, exactly. And Miss Humphreys is terrified. But he does say, there is a good line at the end. He says, "Oh no, it's all for the best. Your pussy would never have been the same with me popping in and out all night."
Hey!
So I think
at least that works. That is a double entendre.
But this episode, I watched a couple of the other ones that were like direct for script type thing. But it worked really well. It like all those characters were basically the characters I recognised, albeit in slightly different guise. Mm-hmm. The comedy was the same, the tone is the same, and this was an original script, so I felt like a good one to. It embraced the Australian side of things.
Yeah.
It worked. It was good.
Great. Okay.
Here's just a side thing. They also sent over a British director to sort this out. It was directed by Bob Spears, who we talked about
Bob
before.
Spears. We have.
So he came up through the BBC, and a lot of his early directing stuff is on David Croft projects, Dad's Army, and stuff like that. But he found his fame more in the 80s when he worked with French and Saunders a lot. He did Comic Strip Presents. He did some of them. Bottom and stuff like that. And then he directed Spice World in 1997, and then basically never did much after that. So read into that what you will. But
I think I remember we talked about him before, because when you told me Spice World last time, I was shocked and stunned, and this time I was like, oh yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah. So he went over there as well. So like they obviously didn't just trust an Australian director to do it.
Interesting.
He went down there as a safe pair of hands, I guess.
Okay, so we've travelled around the world. We're going to come back and talk about Grace and Favour. Before we do that, I was having a little think about the setting, the situation, this idea of a retail department store.
Feels like a classic.
It does, doesn't it? And I was thinking, well, what other retail-based sitcoms have we had? Can you think of any examples, Alan?
Well, Trolleyed, obviously, but we've sort of dealt with that.
We've already done Trolleyed, yeah. So we're not going about that, but yeah, that's to be honest, that's kind of why we ended up doing Trolleyed, because I was thinking about retail sitcoms.
Retail specifically, I think lots of workplaces and
the big one I think is Open All Hours.
Yeah,
that's a slightly different environment, but certainly based in a retail environment.
Mm-hmm.
But
Phone Shop.
Phone Shop. Okay, Phone Shop is a great comparison. Now, I think I might have said this on the podcast before, but I used to sell mobile phones, so Phone Shop is. I really want us to do Phone Shop soon.
Yes,
but Phone Shop's actually a good comparison, because although the characters are totally different, you very rarely see them interacting with customers. It's more about how they interact with each other, and that's very similar. To Are You Being Served? Have you ever seen Hardware? Which had Peter Serafinowicz and Martin Freeman.
Yes, I certainly have. Yeah,
that's interesting. I watched a couple of episodes of that recently, and that's very. I'm going to say that's very game on. It's very game on in that it hasn't dated very. It hasn't aged very well. It feels very of its time. Okay, so I've got three others that are based in shops, but really might as well not be. One is Black Books.
Definitely not good with the customers there.
No, and yeah, the shop is just a means for him being, aggravated. Miranda.
Of course, yeah. I guess partly, at least, yeah.
But again, that's not really a shop. It's a rich woman's folly, isn't it? And then, obviously, because I've mentioned Miranda, we have to mention the cover version, Fleabag. She's got a cafe, really. It's not exactly retail, but, I'm going to make that little dig anyway. And then the only other thing I came up with was not really a sitcom, the local shop for local people, The League of Gentlemen.
Ah, yeah. That's an interesting question. Is that a sitcom? Not
really. I love League of Gentlemen, but I don't think we can call it a sitcom.
No.
So I think, we've already covered Trolleyed. I would love us to do Phone Shop, perhaps in our next series. I've got lots to say about that.
You see, in terms of like its setting and a workplace setting, I associate Are You Being Served much more with like a Dinner Ladies, for example. Like it's a workplace setting, and they're selling to customers, but that's not quite retail in the same way.
You get some good guest appearances from customers, actually. We saw Derek Griffiths in the film, but I'm thinking Joanna Lumley, Gordon Kay, they were both customers
Jeffrey
at some
Holland,
point in the series. Jeffrey Holland, yeah. So we do see customers.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not about the customers. It's not about the art of retail.
Well, if you took the customers away from Are You Being Served, and you're just left with your workers, and let's say you took them out of the shop and put them on a farm for some reason.
Yeah, for example.
Would that work? Would that make any sense at all?
That sounds dreadful.
Well, let me introduce you.
Well, that is a hell of a transition into Grace and Favour. Well done.
Yeah, so Grace and Favour, made in 1992 and a second series the year later, also known as Are You Being Served? Again in America.
Now, okay, as I say, you told me that, and I was like, well, I've never heard it called that, but that was the American name.
Certainly in America. I don't know if other international markets or whatever.
Right.
But
okay.
Jeremy Lloyd and David Croft seem to prefer that title, because it's just like, well, look, we know what it is. Grace and Favour could be anything. Or rather, it doesn't necessarily associate it with your branding. Which, yeah, fair enough. So, Grace and Favour. As a sitcom setup, this is several years after Are You Being Served finished, and by that point it was a bit old hat anyway. They were all a bit too old.
Yeah.
So, how do you get the gang back together? The show's big in America. It's still popular. Repeats on BBC, whatever. We can milk this. We can get more out of it. We all like each other. We want to work together. Right. What's the concept?
So the concept is that they inherit a manor house. Is that it?
Yeah, kind of.
Who inherits it? I didn't see the setup. I didn't see the first episode.
So the very first episode...
What happens?
Young Mr. Grace has died.
Yeah.
And they've just been to the funeral. They've come back to have a reading of the will or some such thing. There's a solicitor meeting them, played by Michael Bilton. And he says, hey, look, your pension, all the money you've been paid into your pension all these years, it's been invested in things. And he lists off all these things it's been invested in that are obviously bad investments.
Uh-huh.
And then he goes, but also this country house, like in Somerset or whatever it is. That is an ongoing investment, and it's basically all the value that your pension has now.
I see.
I didn't get the impression that the pension had been embezzled; it had just been badly invested. And this is 6 months before Robert Maxwell
interesting.
came to the fore. So it was kind of before that. So that's interesting, just as a topical thing. But the idea is that because this is their pension fund, they can go and run it, or they can go and live there, but they can't sell it because it's in trust. But also, it's just them. It's just the ladies and gents department, and no one else of Grace Brothers.
No one else from no one else from anywhere else in the store or the past former employees.
I don't know if it. I don't know if it quite makes sense. I rewatched it to try and work it out,
and I applaud your overanalysis, but it's not going to hold up to any scrutiny, is it?
But the basic concept is, let's take these characters. They're city folk. We'll put them in the country. Hilarity ensues. And
so when you say these characters, obviously young Mr. Grace is now gone. Mr. Granger is no longer with us. Mm-hmm. So who are our characters?
Our stock main characters. There's the floor staff plus Mr. Rumbold.
What about Mr. Lucas? Because he'd already left the group, hadn't he?
No, Mr. Lucas. I've got a feeling. I read somewhere or something that he was offered, or they were trying to see if they could put him in it, and he was like, "Yeah, I've moved on from that. I'm okay." Yeah. So it's just our kind of regulars who were there the whole time. No maintenance man. We haven't got a Mr. Harmon or anything like that. So it is Mrs. Slocum, Miss Brahms, Mr. Humphreys, and Captain Peacock, and Mr. Rumbold. So 5.
Mr. Rumbold.
Yes.
So we got Mr. Rumbold there as well.
So the concept is that Mr. Rumbold has been sent down there to manage this place, but they now all own it.
One of the questions I have is, one of the key sources of comedy in Are You Being Served is this hierarchy and how people chafe against their position in it.
Yeah.
How does that work now if we're all co-owners of a hotel?
That's a valid question, and one they fail to explore adequately as far as I'm concerned. They kind of just rub along, and they're used to their positions, I guess, which makes sense if you've been doing it for 20 years.
I mean, there's another point here that they've been 18 years and no one's got promoted.
Yeah, I think that's the general idea, yeah. Also, no one's got married or had kids, because they all go and move to the country.
In any significant way.
And I think Mr. Rumbold mentions that he's split with his wife or something just to explain that. Captain Peacock never mentions why he's just left his wife and come to live in the country. Mm-hmm. So the idea is they first go to this country house to see what it's like, and then Mr. Rumbold has alienated all the staff, so they left. It's like a country hotel. And so they're like, well, this is the only thing that's worth it. We'll run it ourselves. I think you just have to roll with it. They're running a country hotel.
You said that Trevor Bannister was approached and kind of, I've moved on.
Yeah.
But, I mean, surely Wendy Richard had moved on. She's Pauline Fowler at this point, isn't she?
Yeah, well established. And apparently she was the only one who had to really make some effort to kind of be able to be available for filming.
Oh, sure. It's not like Molly Sugden's rushed off her feet, is it?
Well, I guess it helps that it's all BBC, it's in-house, it's got a good reputation, etc., etc. So the EastEnders basically gave her a leave of absence and wrote some reason why she was away for 3 months when they went and filmed it, or whatever it was. I don't know.
In prison after stealing the Christmas Club money. Do you know what? The thing is, right, obviously I know on an intellectual level, Miss Brahms in Are You Being Served and Pauline Fowler in EastEnders is the same actress. I get that. Uh-huh. But that's never really bothered me, watching Are You Being Served.
Right.
Watching Grace Favour. That's Pauline Fowler. She looks like Pauline Fowler. And it was a real problem. It completely took me out of it.
I quite liked it. I think that Miss Brahms in Grace Favour has just a little more Pauline Fowler to her, a little bit of a matriarchal...
Yeah.
And she's just older. And so she's just a little bit more sarcastic, a little bit, she pushes back a bit more. She's given more to do. And I think it strengthens that character, and I think that's good. And it's more fun.
I tell you what, I did notice: no more looking down the camera. She's got used to the camera now.
So it took 25 years.
But I did. She genuinely looks older than Molly Sugden at some points. She does. I don't mean that to mean. I suppose that is insulting. I don't mean it to be insulting. I just mean that age difference, which was a big part of their dynamic, has gone.
Yeah. And I guess they just the age difference now, like, it's not as relevant when you're older, is it? Right? I guess.
Yeah.
But obviously, we have our 5 established characters, but this is a David Croft show, so we're going to need to put more characters than that in. So we have the locals. We have three other regular characters. So firstly, we have Joanne Hayward as Miss Lovelock, who is established at the start that she was young Mr. Grace's fancy bit, when he died. And so she's inherited this as well, although they're not really inherited it. It's a pension thing. I don't know. Okay. Let's not get into it. But basically, the point is that they have to rub along with her because she owns the place
part of
as
the
well.
Trust.
Yeah, something like that. All the time we've seen young Mr. Grace with his nurses and his secretaries, they're always kind of bimbo-y kind of vibe. She is totally different to that. She's a modern 90s woman. She's smart. She's sleek. She's professional.
Sure, but we've only ever seen the secretaries and the nurses with him. You don't know what their hinterland is. You don't know what they're doing when they're on their day off. They might be horse riding.
All this time.
They might be dressage champions.
Well, from a writing point of view, they've obviously had to go with something like a different character here. And right from the beginning, she's set up as the antagonist. She's the one that they're going to have to go against. In the same way you might have to battle against upper management to make things happen, right?
Yeah.
But it never comes to anything. It never really does anything. And really all that happens is she's quite lazy. She doesn't really get involved. And she's just living the high life. And so they resent her. But then Captain Peacock is really, really trying to shag her.
Isn't he 30 or 40 years older than her though? Mind you, having said that, I suppose she's got form, right?
Exactly.
Mr. Grace, so.
And also she does occasionally, she plays him a little bit, but she does seem a little bit interested in him as well. And that bit as a comedy bit, him trying to get his end away all the time is fine. But her as an antagonist, there needs to be more there. It just never quite comes to anything. And she just feels a little bit surplus to requirements. It's a bit...
Yeah. Who are our other characters, our other locals then? We've got Billy Burden in there in full ooh-ah mode, haven't we?
They're the staff who haven't left. So there's the man who runs the kind of the farm that is on the property, Morris Moulturd.
That's an interesting name.
Moulterd. Moulturd. He spells it. So, okay, that's whatever. It's Billy Burden, and he's playing this country bumpkin ooh-ah thing, which is exactly what Billy Burden did in his entire career. It was his specialty. We've seen him before. We saw him in Heidi High, if you remember that. I don't know.
Yeah, we have. He's one of those faces. You know his face, you know his voice. He always plays the same ooh-ah character.
He plays a pig farmer, drinks scrumpy, that sort of thing. So, fair enough. Yeah. I will say it's quite impressive how much he commits to the physical stuff. There's quite a lot of comedy and stuff. He was in his late 70s when this was made. Died in 94, only a couple of years after this. So, but he's all in, and he's full on, and it is very much a music hall stage acting style. It's not subtle. But
no, he's not subtle. He's very, he's very one note. But if you like the sound of that note, he's all right. He hits it, doesn't he? He hits it consistently.
Yeah, I mean, I was all right with it as a kind of a side character. Didn't put too much kind of weight on him. It was sort of the equivalent of a Mr. Harmon type, the kind of rough and ready type, but totally different thing.
Yeah,
I was all right with it.
You can hardly complain about an Are You Being Served spin-off serving up stereotypes.
And then we have Mr. Moulturd's daughter, played by Fleur Bennett.
Yeah, Mavis,
yes. And I quite like her in this. I think she comes across... She's a lovable, naive country girl. Yeah. And I think she plays it with a real charm. She seems very likeable as a person.
I agree. Do you know what? Here's an obscure reference for you. She really reminded me of the Catherine Zeta-Jones character in Darling Buds of May. which is not really a sitcom, but it really reminded me of that sort of, buxom country girl, heart of gold.
But the weirdest thing is this relationship that they've decided to write in develop between her and Mr. Humphries.
Yeah, so I watched a couple of episodes and I couldn't quite figure out what this relationship was supposed to be doing. So you've watched more than me. What's going on there?
Well, you remember when we talked about the film and Conchita, the Spanish waitress who is being sexually assaulted by the manager?
The one who sounded like Lorraine Chase.
Yeah. She runs to Mr. Humphries for sort of solace and comfort because he's safe. Yes. And they've done this kind of a fair bit where there's some young woman kind of cavorting with Mr. Humphries in some way because I guess it's funny because he's gay. I don't know if you noticed that.
Yeah, that is funny.
But in this case, they just really go full on. It's like this is their entire kind of raison d'etre, and they become a little double act.
Yeah.
But it does work somehow. I'm not quite sure. Like, it starts with, like, they're all living in this country house. He's in bed. She walks into the bedroom. And she goes, oh, hello, move up, come on, let's get in. And she gets into bed with him. And he's like, oh my God, what's happening? And just kind of like...
And he's 40 years older than her also.
Yes, obviously. And he's like a bit too scared to really know what to do. Like, she doesn't try and seduce him or anything, they're just totally on. So then the next morning, everyone knows that they've been in bed together and like, oh, what's going on here, blah, blah, blah. And it's sort of explained by like, oh, you know what country folk are like? They all just sleep in the same bed for warmth. It's just the way they do it.
One big bed, isn't it?
That's kind of the whole explanation. And then it develops, and like at one point she says, oh, it'd be nice for us to get married, isn't it? Something like that. And it's never quite clear what she thinks he is that they have, but they get on really well. And I think he enjoys the company. And so there's this kind of beautiful companionship between them.
She replaced his mother.
Well, he still talks to his mother on the phone quite a bit.
Okay, right, okay.
And then, like, she'll speak in the background, and oh, yes, that is a woman's voice. Well, a change is as good as a rest. That kind of gag. He's just doing all that.
My observation about John Inman in this, he's too old. He doesn't work anymore. Like, the whole Mr. Humphries shtick, it didn't really land in the same way. And I don't know... I'm trying to say this without it sounding like... in some way offensive. I don't know. He just seemed too old to be doing this shit anymore. He was very red in the face. Didn't look very well. Very beetrooty.
I don't know.
And here's a funny thing I've written down. John Inman looks wrong outdoors. So he's sort of mincing across the farmyard. And I'm like, oh, that just looks wrong. It's all right in the shop, but out in the wild, it didn't look right.
I don't know, you say he's got a lot more hair than he had in the 70s. So I don't know why he looks much more fresh. I'll tell you what, generally, overall, the characters, they're obviously all older, and some of them are actually legitimately quite old,
Nicholas Smith actually looks better.
Yeah, well.
He does. He genuinely does. He looks, he's older, but he looks, I don't know if he's had his ears done. He don't look as bad.
Hey, do you know what? I think this is a weird thing. There was a few moments with Nicholas Smith playing Mr. Rumble where he really reminded me of Crichton in Red Dwarf. And I think it's just because he's quite stiff and like he's pulled into this waistcoat, and so his body movements and the way he speaks. There was something very... Just watch a couple of clips and it's like, see if I'm just going crazy or whatever.
Okay, that's interesting. I'll look out for that.
But my overall take on the cast was, obviously they're older, but they were coming full energy. They obviously all wanted to do this because they enjoyed working together. They're all friends. Yeah. That's classic Croft kind of vibe as well. And I think they're all just loving it. And I think that energy really comes across. And I think it's the same type of humour that we're used to from them. I was already this is a bit old now. We got 10 years, 10 series out of this. That's probably a few too many. I don't need any more. But it works. And it's just like, okay, well, what would you do if our characters that we know and love have to herd some pigs into the back of a van? Let's do that. Yeah, great.
Yeah.
That's your physical bit. What would we do if we had some Mongolian visitors and we had to entertain them with traditional Mongolian dance?
There was an episode I watched where Mr. Slocum turned up as a guest.
Yes. Which is interesting because they managed to go 10 series without invoking Mr. Slocum.
Who'd abandoned her in Sainsbury's or something.
Yeah. And then she's just avoiding him because she doesn't want him to see that lives on a farm or something.
Yeah. The shame of it. The shame. I thought that Frank Thornton was actually the right age because his demeanour was always this old patrician, and he sort of, his age and his greying hair had caught up with that demeanour.
Yeah.
So you enjoyed it then?
I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily go that far. I think it was in keeping with Are You Being Served? But I didn't need any more of it. And I think if you look at the 90s in terms of David Croft's output, you got the tail end of Hello, Hello. Then you've got Grace and Favour. You've got the You Rang My Lord. And then Oh, Dr. Beaching. It was all this kind of greatest hits kind of vibe. I mean, Grace and Favour, literally. But it was all like, get the band back together. It was... I enjoy working with these people. David Croft by this point is pretty old. And so he's not trying to break new ground and change things. He just wants to hang out with his mates and shoot some things. And I think that's why those shows don't... Also, it's still working on a 70s kind of vibe. He hasn't aged. Yeah. Society's moved on. Game On is like the year after this,
Yes. That's a good comparison, yeah.
And so I think, there's still an audience for that. You're still a Sunday evening audience, but it's just, I think that's why those shows just didn't take off in the same way.
It feels very Last of the Summer Wine. It feels like it's occupying that space. Yeah.
And
but like you said, there's a market for that. Not everybody wants to watch Game On.
Yeah.
Or let's not pick on Game On. Not everyone wants to watch something groundbreaking and new and of its time. Sometimes you want that comfort.
Yeah. And so that's fine, but but also you've got to understand as well, like the BBC management are looking at this going, or like a new management comes in and they're like, oh, do we want David Croft doing a period piece set on a train station, or do we do Men Behaving Badly Series 5? It's like what? Yeah. There is an element of we've got to revamp and refresh a little bit as well, perhaps.
Yeah, I get that. Well, do you know what? I think we have squeezed the pips out of Are You Being Served? And we've still got more. We've still got the 2016 remake to do, but we're not going to do that at the moment. We may come back to that at some future date. We hope that you have enjoyed all of the Are You Being Served content back in the series and our little extras the last couple of weeks. We've got a couple more bonus episodes to come for you, and then we'll be back with our new series later on in 2025. So thanks for listening, everyone, and we will see you soon. Bye.
Bye.